Good morning.
Good morning.
Remember to unmute myself. Good morning.
Morning. I wasn't unmuted either.
I was like, uh-oh, my sound's not working.
That's what I thought. I was like,
Haley, I'm opening those emails now. So don't yell at me in public meeting.
Thank you.
It's been a long week, I'm gonna be honest. This is why we don't procrastinate.
Easier said than done in many, many cases.
So much easier said than done. Where'd one go? And you were just looking for edits and approvals, right? Which I didn't see. Oh. Okay. Back into full view. Let's see. Okay. All right, should we go ahead and get started? Wow, the whole agenda fits on the screen at once. That's always a good sign. Okay, so let's go ahead and roll right into it. Thanks, Erin. Glad that you're checking in on us, even if your attention is divided. Okay, so we have our June 21st meeting. We started to talk a little bit about that agenda, and we've got that reflected here. Status check on the recommendations. We did at last week's meeting talk about hearing from our school district leaders to talk about the ARP funds and sort of where things stand. I think it was clear from our conversation last week that summer is in place, where people are, well, certainly where people will be by June 21st, I think, will be much more focused on fall. So maybe there'll be a clear status update on what's happening with fall and how funds are being used specifically for that purpose. And then Tika brought up that there are some specific education related initiatives that we could get updates on. And I think Tika was going to forward you some information, Kelly.
I will follow up with her again, but yes.
Okay. Because so this is what we have so far. And then of course, sorry, what's next, which should be we would hope would be a substantial report. So, but we're 4 weeks away, which is going to fly by very, very fast. And, you know, we want to be able to talk about, you know, what's going to happen next with the work groups, what's going to happen in terms of some legislative initiatives. I'll be honest, I think that the hope is it's come up, and obviously it came up in our interim recommendations, even if Representative Chakotcha and I do not have a bill filed to essentially update the deadline for our redistricting initiative, that would not be good, because we made a commitment to do that. And that should be rolling, maybe even progressing at that point. So we are on break. I'm not on break because I'm on JFC, but we are universally on break. So this is the time when sort of end of session projects can move forward. So I will, I think he's with us today. I can't see everyone who's in the room, but I do have a meeting this afternoon with Eugene and Namdi. So we'll be able to talk about that. And then, you know, we would expect obviously to hear, I would say, from each working group, you know, what does the rest of the year hold? So I would think that's going to be kind of our pivot point. And where do we expect things to go in 2022? So I think we need to make sure that that's clearly conveyed, that expectation, to all of our co-chairs. I think including education. I mean, if we are officially laying that work group to rest, if we can make that official, or if we want to reconstitute that effort and that focus area in some way, but I think we should be prepared to answer those questions for all 4 of the work groups. Does that make sense? I know it's pretty open, but.
And when you say the rest of the year, you mean through 2021?
Yeah.
Okay.
Through year end.
Okay.
Yeah. And that'll look different for different groups. I think some groups have a longer horizon on their work, and some groups may have shorter ones, but I would really like for us to be able to signal that in this meeting, so that there's a sense of you know, forward momentum and like some future benchmarks for when things would be completed, and how things might shift in the future for our work. But hopefully it'll be an exciting meeting in terms of being able to report on progress in a very positive way. So I know that's still pretty skeletal, but I think we'll really need to charge our working group chairs with working with us on substance. And if it would be helpful for any working group chairs that are here, you know, maybe to do like two-on-2 check-ins with Matt and I. We'll have to find that time, and probably should be starting to find that time now, because sometimes it takes weeks to get things on the schedule. Just 30 minutes, you know. I think that would make me feel more comfortable if we could do that within the next 2 weeks. Okay. Anybody have any questions or big ideas there? I think it'll be good. I think the, when we talk about, have the funding conversations, I think it can feel a little distant because we don't have, an explicit accountability role there. So it'll probably feel very presentational, but I think people certainly have been asking and certainly want to know, and we never know if that information might lead us to find an opportunity for us to play some kind of a role. Okay. If there are any questions, yes.
Yeah. Good morning. This is Ray. So Senator Lockman, I do have a question. Well, first of all, the request that that Jeff and I meet with you and Matt in terms of future direction.
Mhm.
We can brainstorm around where we think that the social determinants work group should be headed, but it would be helpful to have the bigger vision for where the Reading Consortium is headed, in 2022.
Okay.
So now, do you want us to schedule that after the session closes?
No, I think we should do it prior to this meeting because I think it could inform the meeting. I'd like to have that done, with enough time for that to be able to be reflected in the dialogue in our June meeting.
Okay. All right.
That would be
Thank
the
you.
goal. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Ray. Anybody else? All right, so let's hear what work groups have been up to. Settlement, I know that Aaron's divided, so Chuck, why don't you give us a little taste?
Yep, same report as last time. We have a meeting on Monday, and that meeting is going to involve talking about teacher recruitment and retention. Again, just making clear that we're not stepping on the educator work group's toes. We just are, since the settlement does involve a teacher recruitment and retention dollar amount, we want to become informed on that. Also, we'll talk about some more about Opportunity Fund and the analysis of Delaware education funding that are in the settlement. So those things are, our meeting it's right here on the agenda, 5 o'clock on the 24th. See many of you there.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds substantive. Thank you guys for that. And social determinants. I see the next meeting's in June, and I forget if we talked. Was there a meeting in between? Was there a meeting this week? Is that just Ray? I don't know if Jeff's here or not.
No. Our next meeting is June the 14th. We have planning meetings in between.
Okay.
Meetings. So we have a planning meeting that will be scheduled before June the 14th.
Okay. Okay.
It might be efficient to try to bring you into that meeting. So we'll
Yeah.
trade some dates and times.
Okay, that sounds good to me. And then as I mentioned, funding and governance, I am, and Matt, hopefully you're on that too. If not, we can talk about it and catch up, but I'm meeting with the chairs of funding and governance this afternoon.
Okay.
So we should have an update on them next week. Let's hope. Okay, so that's work group updates. And we're already at the public engagement portion. So that hasn't changed either. Oh,
I did put in the chat the link to the developmental screening bill that Representative Williams filed yesterday.
oh,
So that's a
great.
bill, that's part of our recommendations.
Okay. I mean, would it be helpful? I know last time we talked about, we've done legislative updates on a regular basis. I guess, on June 21, I know I'm kind of tying this back to the agenda. But session will still be going. There'll probably be still some bills in play, whether they're ones that we've already endorsed or just have identified as relevant to our purpose. We want to make space to give that sort of legislative update and give us an opportunity. I mean, if there's stuff that's still out there that hasn't completed its course as of June 21st, there's always room for us to take a position, as a consortium that we support or oppose any legislation that's still in play. So should we add a legislative update sort of equity bills. So it's that, let's just put that in there so we can do some research on what's out. I mean, it's a constantly moving target. Things are, as Dawn mentioned, that was filed yesterday. But there's probably a small laundry list of things we want to make sure people are aware of. There probably won't be committee hearings happening anymore at that point, but we can always email folks. And to actually kind of relevant to that, obviously Matt and I have been working on, advancing our budget recommendations. There is a recommendation before the Capital Improvement Fund Committee that it is not from us, but is not irrelevant to our work, that some of my colleagues brought to my attention. And it's about the school, the new school for Bancroft. And I think that's something that I intend to offer support as chair of Reading, and so would expect as co-chairs of Reading that Matt and I will probably offer some formal support there, even though we don't have the opportunity to clear that in a full body meeting. Does anyone have any concerns about that or thoughts about, running that by the entire body or anything like that? I mean, I think it's kind of it's a non-controversial thing for us to be supporting. Big investment. I think the request from the governor was about 70 million. As we know, materials are getting more expensive in this not quite post-COVID world. So I think that's inflating some of the cost there too, but we certainly want to see that done. Having state-of-the-art school for our kids would be, as we know, what's such a great signal.
Yeah, with all due respect, everything has elements of controversy.
Okay.
I think that we should discuss it. So that there are no surprises as more people in the community become aware. And discourse ensues. On the face value, of course, it has its benefits, but there are concerns that simply building a new campus is not sufficient for transforming the system. And the area has an average of 3 to 4 shootings every other day.
It does.
And so there are elements that impact, as you know, it impacts the families and the educational outcomes that go far beyond the physical building and the plans for a state-of-the-art school. So I think that we should be in conversation and have recommendations around a holistic plan, a comprehensive plan. It's not naive.
For you mean recommendations around how that process should move forward in the building of a new school? Or just having support for the building of a new school?
The considerations that should go into the decision making around both the process and the outcomes for the school itself.
Okay.
The campus. It's envisioned to be a whole campus, not.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think all along that conversation, I absolutely think that, it's been important to put pressure on to ensure that that's a community engaged process, and some of those other things I think that you're bringing up. Hopefully I'm hearing you right. But do you have an objection fundamentally to recommending that there be an investment in the infrastructure there, or you just mean what happens after that?
I personally don't have an objection, but I don't think that conversation has been held in an intentional way with members of the community. I don't.
Okay. I think that's fair. Chuck's here, and you're a Christina person, Chuck. I know there have been some meetings, some stakeholder meetings. Maybe that's something that I'll give that some thought about if there's a role for us to play in that, or Ray, maybe perhaps, the center. I don't know if the center is planning to do anything around engagement with that, but certainly if we're going to weigh in on recommending the investment, at least from a chair perspective, you know, I think that connects us to the conversation, and we can talk about what comes next. I think that's perfectly appropriate. I'm just going to think about, I would ask you all to think about, where does that fit within our existing scope of work? You know, do we have a certain working group that fits within, or is that just a you know, a broad meeting, or is it sort of something that we partner with another organization on helping make sure the community is having that conversation? So that I'm just literally just throwing out questions for consideration, and we can follow up on that.
I would like to, if I may, comment a little bit on that. I know that there has been some attempts at community engagement, and I know Dr. Shelton, our superintendent at Christina, is very intimately involved with the project. If there are, if we're missing the mark anywhere, please contact Dr. Shelton directly, because I mean, this project it's moving. We have a school to build. We have a timeline to meet. We have asked for more money than was even recommended in the bond bill. So, you know, we've have some folks who say, well, we would like all these other community amenities. The amount of money that's in there doesn't accommodate all those amenities. So if the community, you know, has certain preferences that need a dollar amount behind it, we need to get moving, and we need to get that put in there. Otherwise, I mean, it's a school with whatever, and again, I'm involved in it, but I'm not driving the train on what's going into it. Dr. Shelton is very involved. Please contact him directly, so that we can make sure that we're doing it right.
Okay. Thank you. And since he does have a seat on the consortium, perhaps at some point, probably not June, you know, that's something that we could have him speak to as that process moves forward, and that'll give us some grounds to further that conversation. Matt, you unmuted. I feel like you want to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to, for the benefit of the group, just, you know, throw in that Senator Lockman wears a variety of hats. So I just wanted to make sure we were all, you know, cognizant of, you know, she may weigh in on things or be expected to weigh in on things in her role as a senator and education committee member and whatever other things she is outside of her Reading Consortium thing. So I just wanted to make sure that we were mindful of that in terms of giving her the ability to do all the things she needs to do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Although, I mean, I certainly get asked from colleagues about where is the Reading Consortium on things. And so I think I do want to be sensitive to the, you know, the gravity of sort of saying as chair of the Reading Consortium and the weight that can bring, and be, you know, respectful of the full body on that. But I do think we've done a good job over the past, how long, 18 months, 2 years, how long has it been? I can't tell time anymore. But that I think we've done a very good job of building credibility in the space we sought to build credibility in, at least with my colleagues. And I think that's, I don't want us to miss opportunities or misuse that. So, but I think before we do anything with Reading's name on it, even if I'm doing it as chair, I think I'm absolutely fine with making sure that at least that the consortium has the opportunity to know that is occurring. I'm not just going to be writing letters on Reading letterhead freely, that's for sure, because we don't have Reading letterhead. But okay, so let's see. Oh, back to public engagement. So same as last week, Tuesday. Tuesday is the deadline for submitting items for the May newsletter to Alexis, who is doing a great job with the rest of the team compiling that. Again, we're getting nice engagement, so let's be sure to pull in anything from our respective agencies and organizations that we're engaged with to share that out with the folks who are on our list. You know, it can be really serious stuff. It can be something a little lighter, and just to make sure that we're sharing all that we can about what's going on with students in Greater Wilmington. Okay.
Hazel, can I ask a question about
Yes.
the newsletter? We were talking about some of these bills, like Dawn sent the developmental screening bill, and we know the
Mhm.
opportunity funds just passed, and
Mhm.
you and Namdi have your new resolution, or you know,
Yeah.
the concurrent resolution. I was wondering if in newsletter, are you comfortable with a little section, kind of what you said, a little like highlighting some of those bills that were sort of involved in or endorsed?
Yeah, I think it's there's only 3 bills that we formally endorsed. So I think
Mhm.
if we want to highlight progress on the bills that we endorsed,
Mhm.
make that clear. And then I think if we want to draw people's attention to relevant bills, make sure that that's sort of distinct.
Got it.
And that would include anything that members of the consortium or work groups who are legislators are bringing forth, including Namdi and myself. Because just because we're bringing it doesn't mean that the consortium has
Mhm. Involved.
agreed to support those things. So yeah, and that can even be, let's make sure to highlight things that have passed. Like I think it would be important. Yesterday we got the House Bill 198, the Black History Bill, passed the Senate, it's headed to the governor. So even if something was basically done, I think let's make sure to highlight those things. So I think there's probably quite a bit that could be on that list. But you know, maybe we can catch up between now and Tuesday and chat about it. And if anyone here has something, I know when we were in our full body meeting, people brought up a couple of things, which I thought was helpful, like the high needs school loan program, that bill, some stuff like that. So yeah, I'd go for it. And if you need any input on that, you know, let me know. I'll see if there's anything, you know, certainly Representative Williams has a lot of stuff going. Representative Chakotcha has a lot of stuff going. We'll try to make sure we don't leave anything out.
I know that's where it
Kelly,
starts to get tricky.
I mean,
I
I'm sure
have a
we'll miss
list.
something. Mhm.
I have a list of most of the education related bills I can share with you all that I've been tracking.
Awesome. Thank
Perfect.
you, Kelly. Yeah, I think that'll be great. I think our readers will enjoy that. It might be
And-
helpful for me.
I was going to say one more thing for the newsletter. If people have specifically community news, people seem to like that section of other things that are going on. Like if you have the Ray's group, the Center for Equity and Policy, they always have events, things like that, different stuff to highlight. Seems to go over well. So if people have things like that, please send them to Alexis or me. That would be great.
Awesome. Tika always seems to have a good lead on that stuff too.
Mhm.
And of course, any of our district people who are administrators in districts probably know about some good stuff too. Okay. And so we're doing it monthly, right? So there'll be another one in June. Okay.
Yep.
We don't have to necessarily make any grand, so it's the end of the school year statements until June. Okay, cool. Okay. And we're finalizing a one-pager. But we're not going to do that until the budget's actually passed, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just kind of a placeholder to remind everyone that is happening. But once we know what to put in there, then we'll finalize it.
Yeah, I was like, but we'll have a framework for it. Okay, good. Yeah, hopefully in early July, once everything is wrapped up and we catch our breath, we can do a nice little victory post. Okay, anybody have any questions or comments on that? Cool. Okay, good. It's only just coming up on 11. So now let's see who all of our participants are. I'm trying to keep up with your comments in the chat, Amy, but if you want to take 3 minutes now, you know, feel free to share. I know you've been attending a lot of hearings and things. So I think do we have any other members of the public? We may. If any other members of the public are on and wish to speak, note that in the chat or raise your hand. But Amy, did you want your 3 minutes?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. So yeah, I was putting in the chat when you're talking about the city school that there is actually some controversy that came up at Bond. There's an issue with certificates of need, which you need to, get the bond money for your new schools. They're only issued, there should be 3 criteria, right? Health and safety, capacity, and programming, but they're only looking at capacity now. So the controversy came up because Bush School has applied 3 years in a row and they were turned down again and just told to reapply next year. And Lisa Lawson's like wondering what's going on. And so I'm working with Bill Doolittle on kind of tracking down the specific language and like Title 14 and the statutes, but it's not very explicit. I think it should be 2 things, right? You should get your certificate of need. And then if the revenue's there, that's one thing, but people aren't getting their certificates because they're being told the revenue's not there. So how deep is our priority pipeline? And I FOIA'd this from Allison May. So there is actually quite a bit of controversy around that because there's just not enough to go around, right? And so that's one thing. And then the other is that I attended a CPAC meeting, and that was, I've already brought that up with Senator Lockman, and that was a little bit troubling in that they had basically a child investigator dealing with a lot of sexual abuse. She said her specific team was about to implode because of the number of cases they were handling, over 300 a person. It was just kind of crazy, their mental health and COVID and all this stuff. And what got me with the CPAC people is they felt like their focus was so narrow by the mandate of their committee that they didn't want to deal with all these overlapping issues. And I just like to bring out that Reading does a great job of integrating everything and that we shouldn't leave these people in silos. And then my other thing I wanted to bring up, if I can remember, I might be running out of time. I forget. So sorry.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Find it, Amy. In 30 seconds. And just to clarify, CPAC is the Child Protection Accountability Counselor Committee, correct?
Yes. And I think they meet
Commission.
quarter. Oh, real fast. The Teachers Advisory Council, they met and they have something called Digital Delaware and micro credentials that really screamed Reading to me, and they were pretty cool. So those teacher ambassadors are going to go out and put those in schools. But the teacher ambassador makeup was not diverse.
It's your timer, Amy.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Very good.
Awesome. If you have any information you could send to the team on that, that wasn't something I was aware of. So that sounds very helpful, and maybe even something settlement might want to know about as they look into recruitment retention staff. So thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Was there anyone else who wanted to comment today? I can't see, but I don't think we have anybody else. So I think we're good for today. Hopefully this beautiful weather holds up, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. And some of you I might see this afternoon, and others I will see next week. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye guys. Thanks.